and arm the auto throttle. We're going to verify the CDU is set again. It is. Verify your flight directors on. It is. Set your bank limit as desired. I'm going to put 20 degrees. Autopilot disengage bar should be up. Speed brake lever, verify that it is down. Alternate stabilizer trim switches are neutral. Reverse thrust levers are down. Thrust levers closed. Flap lever set to 0 degrees. And parking brake set. We could also remove the wheel chocks if you do have them in place. Back down here on the map, set your range as desired, map switches as desired, and your decision height reference as desired, which should be 200 feet for most. Also on the CDU, you're going to enter your center of gravity. Ours is going to be about 35%. So we're going to punch that in. That'll give us our stabilizer trim of 3.75, which is what you're going to enter here on the stab trim. Verify that your fuel control switches are at cutoff, and again that the windows are shut. They are. Your captain's audio control panel, which would be here, should be set. It is. Left instrument source select panel set. Flight director selector should be set to left. Navigation source FMC left, and alternate source switches off. These are your alternate source switches. Going to verify once again that all of your flight instruments are correct and no flags displayed. They are. Verify your route is displayed and correct and that your altimeter is correct. Check the auto land. If it's working correctly, it should look like this. Your reserve brake switch, it should be off. You're going to set your auto brakes to off. Make sure they are off. And that accomplishes the pre-flight checklist. This starts a before start procedure. You're going to want to make sure that your correct thrust reference is set. For us, that would be clicking the toga switch for takeoff. This time you would obtain start clearance, which in Flight Simulator, unless you're multiplayer, you do not have to do, so we're going to assume that we have that. And you're going to set the hydraulic panel. Starting from the right side, you're going to switch them all on, working your way counterclockwise, verifying that all pressure warning lights, except on the right and left engine pumps, have gone out. We're going to set the fuel panel, which would be turning every fuel pump on, including the center tank if the center tank contains fuel. Do not mind the pressure warning lights or the cross-feed valve light for now. To warn the people on the ground, we're going to be starting the engines. Turn on your red anti-collision light. You're going to want to turn your pack control selectors off, and that is very important because without doing that, the engines will not start. Verify that all your trims are correct. They are. Check your flight controls, which would just be moving the flight column all the way towards you and all the way out, and then all the way to the left, all the way to the right. Make sure it's working. And that accomplishes the before start checklist. Now for the engine start procedure, there are a couple things you're going to have to watch. You're going to have to observe oil pressure increase and N2 rotation. You're going to hit the fuel control switch once N2 rotation is at least 18% and maximum motoring, which is usually about 23%. You got to observe the initial EGT rise and within EGT limits. Abort start if EGT fails to rise within 20 seconds of selecting run or if it's rapidly approaching the limit. Abort the start if the N1 fails to increase at EGT rise. Abort start if N2 fails to reach stabilized idle within 120 seconds of selecting run. And until the oil temperature exceeds 50 degrees Celsius, do not advance thrust beyond what is required to taxi. To actually start the engine, you're going to go up here, position the start selector to ground. and you have to start the right side engine first. As you see, our N2 is increasing. And actually, on a Rolls-Royce engine, you actually want to watch the N3. If you were on Pratt & Whitney, you would watch the N2, but for Rolls-Royce, it's N3. And as you can see, the EGT stayed within the limits. N1, N2, and N3 have all increased. And the oil temperature has also exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. So we're going to start the left side engine now. The exact same procedure. Notice that the center pump warning light has gone out as you start the engine. Now to start the after start procedure, APU selector should be set to off, APU generator off. Engine anti-ice switches as required. We are in the summer in the Caribbean, so we're not going to do that. Isolation switch over on the bleed air panel off. Pack control selectors both set to auto. I'm going to click the recall button here. Nothing has come up, and the APU fault should go away within about 10 seconds. If it doesn't, then we do have a problem. Yep, see how it has gone out. Auto brake selectors set to RTO. Also at this time, you would normally push back the aircraft. Ground equipment should be clear. Call for after start checklist, and it is indeed completed. As you're pushing back, you're going to want to obtain taxi clearance. Release the parking brake and adjust flaps as required for takeoff. We're going to go with 5 degrees, which is 2 notches. And that accomplishes our before takeoff checklist. And now once you are pushed back, you are going to turn on taxi lights as required. That'd be the nose gear and taxi light, and set your transponder to takeoff mode. Click the test button again. We're going to taxi on over to Niner. My recommended taxi thrust would be around 35 N1 to get going, 30 N1 as you're cruising. Let's see if we can make this corner here. Alright, so we're going to get on Delta, then runway 9er, exit Bravo over to Alpha, and then I'll run through the takeoff checklist. Remember that your maximum taxiing speed is 25 knots. We're going to exit at Bravo here. This time you're going to verify that the auto throttle is armed, and you're going to push in the autopilot disengage bar. Thrust idle. We're going to turn off the taxi lights, turn on the landing lights and white anti-collision light, and get takeoff clearance. Brakes release.